What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Heat Report. Welcome back to a brand new video on this channel where we talk all things Miami Heat basketball. Today's video, we're going to be talking about one thing that I really need the Miami Heat to add in the offseason, and that is the addition of a go-to scorer. Before I even get into it, though, make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, comment down below. All that good stuff. You guys have absolutely been killing it. We are, I think, less than 5 subscribers away from 700. So, yeah, let's get to that mark as soon as possible, and let's keep building, man. Keep building this community on the channel. I appreciate all of your suggestions on the last video. I've seen a lot of them, and you guys have given me some great ideas. So, keep that going. If you guys have more suggestions, keep that going. Comment down below on every video your suggestions, whatever y'all want me to do. I got you guys. Today's video is inspired by Kevin Durant's masterpiece against the Milwaukee Bucks, where he dropped 49 points, triple-double, played every single minute. It was one of the best performances I've ever seen from a player, and I've been watching basketball for a long time. I think this was definitely Kevin Durant's best performance that I've ever seen, and he absolutely killed it. I don't want to spend too much time on Kevin Durant because we are talking about the Heat, but that's what this video was inspired by, Kevin Durant. And it just made me realize that, in order for you to win, in order for you to be successful in this league, you need a bucket getter. You need a guy that can put the ball in the basket. You need a go-to scorer on your team. And the Miami Heat, that's one of their biggest holes, I would say. I think that was probably their biggest hole, is the lack of a go-to guy, like a go-to scorer, a guy who's a walking bucket. Jimmy Butler is a very good player. Jimmy Butler is, in my mind, a superstar in this league, but Jimmy Butler is not a guy who's, a scorer. He can score the ball, but he's not a scorer. He didn't come into the league as a scorer. He's never been a guy who's, a bucket getter, this, that, and the other. He's been a defensive first player. He's been a very good playmaker. He can score the ball, but he's very limited. He does most of his damage either from the paint or from the free throw line. Mid-range jump shots sometimes, lacks a three-point jumper, lacks a consistent, mid-range jumper. He can hit the mid-range shot, but it's on and off sometimes. He's one of the best in the league at drawing fouls. He's one of the best in the league at finishing at the rim, and that's what, that's where his scoring comes from. So Jimmy Butler can score the ball. I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying we don't have that, but we need a go-to bucket getter on this team if you want to be successful. All the good teams have that. All the good teams have a guy that you can give the ball to, and they can make something happen. Jimmy Butler can make something happen, but if he's not scoring the ball, who else is there? Bam is not a go-to guy either. Bam came into the league as a defensive guy who made his mark by rim running and playing defense at the rim. That's what Bam's role was at Kentucky. That's what Bam's role was when he first came to the Heat. He really started expanding his arsenal this season, and then a little bit in the playoffs of last season. That's when we saw the mid-range jump shot a little bit. He's had the playmaking, he's had the defense, he's had the rebounding, but as far as the scoring is concerned, until last season's playoffs, he was really just a lob threat. He wasn't a guy who could do much outside of 5 feet, and we saw him at the mid-range shot this year. But the thing about Bam is, I know he can knock those shots down. It's just he doesn't want to take them. So we need a guy who's not shy to shoot the ball. We need a guy who's who can put the ball in the basket. Some guys out there that we can trade for: CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, anyone on the Blazers. I would be very over the moon if we got one of them. CJ and Dame are guys who are scorers. CJ is a bucket getter. He is one of the most fun players to watch when he's on fire, because he's just a guy who, when he gets in the zone, he just can just launch and can just make almost any shot. And we wouldn't, as if we keep Jimmy and Bam, and if we get one of those two, I'm happy. Other guys like Zach LaVine, another guy who's a go-to scorer, who's a bucket getter. Obviously the only con to getting a guy like this is that defensively they tend to be lacking. Zach LaVine is not a good defender. CJ McCollum's not a good defender. Dame is not a good defender. But I think our team defense, will be good. regardless, because I think, you know, we're still a defensive first team, so that even with like a bad guard defender, like this year we had Nunn and Robinson. None of them were like really good defenders. They were average to below average. You know, if you want to be generous, I think they were below average, but if you want to say they were average, that's fine too. And we still had, I think, a top 5 defense in the NBA. So I think our team defense will be good regardless, but it's just the fact that we need a bucket getter on this team. You know, someone who can just score the ball in bunches, bro. Like someone who can just score the ball in bunches. And we can't really rely on someone coming out of the draft to do that, man. I think that, you know, like if I'm looking at the big board right now, the one guy that I see, because we do not have a pick this year. You guys have to keep that in mind. So if we get someone who's going to be either trading for a second or trading for a first, or getting someone who's undrafted, which is probably going to be the route we take. And, you know, if I'm looking at the big board right now, Nah'Shon Hyland, aka Bones Hyland from VCU, he is at 66 on the big board, which is, and there's only 60 spots in the draft. So if he falls out, he's a guy who's a bucket getter for sure. VCU did not play in the March Madness tournament, I think because of COVID or something. But he's a guy who can get he can get his own bucket. Scotty Lewis from Florida, he's good. He's really, really good. There's some guys out here in the draft, but you're not relying on a rookie to come in and light it up, especially if they're undrafted. So I would not rely on rookies, but if I was, it would probably be those two out there. Those two are like the main names that I see who can really, really score the ball. Max Abmas too from Oral Roberts. You know, he lit up the tournament. Y'all probably all know him if you watch March Madness. So yeah, I mean, there's some names in the draft, but you're not relying on a rookie to come in who's undrafted and just, you know, start scoring the ball like it's nothing. Like it's gonna have to be someone we either get in free agency or we get in the trade market. Free agency is really, really dry right now. Not right now, but for like this year's free agency is really dry. You know, there's not really much out there. Kyle Lowry is probably the best bet if you want to get if you got to score the ball, but he's not like a bona fide scorer. He can definitely score the ball, but we're talking about bucket getters. And Kyle Lowry, you know, if you're talking about who's a better scorer between Kyle Lowry and CJ McCollum, CJ McCollum's a better scorer. But if you want like defense and leadership and all that, then Kyle Lowry's probably your guy. And then similar to that, you have you know, DeMar DeRozan, who can score the ball from the mid-range area, but from the three-point line, he's not great. He's not great whatsoever. And I don't know how he'd fit our team. Mike Conley, you know, he's more of a facilitator now. He's more of a, you know, defensive guy now. He's not really looking to score the ball as much. They have Donovan Mitchell on their team. And apart from that, you know, there isn't much out there. Spencer Dinwiddie, maybe, you know, if you want Spencer Dinwiddie, he's probably like little like lower down in the pecking order. I'll probably put him on like the same tier as like a Malcolm Brogdon, which is another name that we could trade for. Derrick Rose, if you want someone off the bench. But none of these names are like, you know, give him the ball and he's gonna get you a bucket. Like that, like none of these names are like that. So I think it has to be someone we trade for. And whether that's CJ McCollum, whether that's Zach LaVine, whether that's Damian Lillard, I don't know what other names you can trade for who are like on the market. Bradley Beal, maybe, if he wants out of Washington. One of those four, I think, would be a dream, because, you know, they can all really, really score the ball. Obviously, who would probably be the easiest to trade for? Probably be CJ, because the Portland Trailblazers are already looking to like make some moves right now. They're fired their coach, bring in new coaching staff, and you know, the future of their backcourt is uncertain. They have to move on from one of them for sure, though, because I don't think they can come back next year with Dame and CJ. I think one of them has to go, and I think they'll probably trade CJ. I don't think they'll trade Dame, especially because I don't think Dame has asked for a trade either. So it's in their best interest to trade CJ instead of Dame. And if they want to trade CJ, the Miami Heat would be a team that's interested for sure. I mean, it already came out that if Dame was not, you know, tradable, the CJ McCollum would be a guy to trade for the Miami Heat. So I think that CJ McCollum would be a really good option to trade for. Apart from that, you know, like I said, no one's really on the market right now as far as a go-to guy, go-to scorer is concerned. We just need a guy to be a consistent scorer. You know, Jimmy can be a facilitator first if we have CJ McCollum on the team. Not if we have Kendrick Nunn and this is no diss at K'Nunn. He's a good player, but he's not, you know, on the level of scoring as a CJ McCollum is. So I think that if we get a guy like a CJ McCollum, or if Victor Oladipo somehow comes back to this team and he's fully rejuvenated, because we look really good with Victor on the team. I'm not even gonna lie. The 4 games that he played, he didn't like it wasn't like him that looked good, but the team looked really good together, which was a surprise because I thought it would take a longer time to gel. But since the first, you know, game, you saw his impact defensively, and there was moments where you could see he's breaking down defenders and either scoring the ball or setting up his teammates. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about the lack of a scorer on this team. You know, that game from Kevin Durant, you know, I always knew we needed a score, but that was like, man, if you don't have a scorer on your team, like a bucket getter on your team, it's very hard to succeed. It's very, very hard to succeed. And the exception is probably like the LeBron-led teams, because LeBron's not like a great scorer either. Right now, he's a good scorer. He's a really good scorer, but he's not a bucket getter. Which is probably why they like Anthony Davis really compliments him, because he can score the ball really, really well. So I would say that, you know, in this league, if you want to be successful, you need a bucket getter on your team, and we don't really have that right now. So we got to trade for someone. Another guy in free agency, who's probably not on the level of some of these guys, but is going to be making a lot of money next year, is Norman Powell. He was averaging almost 20 points per game on the Raptors, and granted, that was on the Raptors, a Raptors team which missed a lot of players due to protocols and injuries and all that, so he did have a lot more opportunity. But he could still be a guy that, you know, even if he's catching and shooting, it's still a win for us, because he's always a threat as far as driving to the rim. He's a very, you know, high flyer. He can do a lot of things. He's good defensively. So Norman Powell, I think, is another guy that we could probably target. Apart from that, man, there's nothing out there in free agency. Like, I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. Like, free agency, this is not the best free agency class by any means. So it's gonna have to be someone we trade for, and I think CJ McCollum is probably the guy that's most realistic to trade for. You know, Zach LaVine, I don't know how, you know, how happy the Bulls would be to trade him, especially because they just put him with Vucevic, and and Zach LaVine had to go through COVID protocols, so they missed the playoffs because of that. They probably want to run it back one more season and see how it works. Bradley Beal, you know, Washington, I think it might be in their best interest to move on from, you know, their older players and go to and start a youth movement there. But Bradley Beal is a guy that probably, you know, he's never had any indication of wanting to leave Washington. He's always been, I want to stay in Washington my whole career. I want to, you know, do this, that. He's been like Dame, you know, he signed the extension, all that stuff. So I don't know how likely it is that we trade for him. So I think CJ McCollum is probably the best bet, and we got to get on it before other teams start calling the phone of the Trailblazers, because he's a hot commodity out there, and I think he's gonna be on a different team next year, and hopefully it's on our team. But that's gonna wrap up the video. Thank you guys all for listening. As usual, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new, hit the post notifications, the bell, so you guys do not miss a single video. And yeah, hit that subscribe button, man. We are almost at 700 subscribers, so let's get to that mark as soon as possible. And yeah, as usual, comment down below your ideas on this channel and what you want me to do next, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.